I was in Gettysburg on Sunday, and as I drove through the town and around the square, I was amazed at the number of pride flags being flown from business after business. I honestly don't think I've ever seen so many rainbow flags in any one place before. And I had to ask myself, were these shops and restaurants and pubs somehow bullied into putting up the flags? Were these independently owned businesses making a political statement? Are the store clerks and bartenders looking to have conversations and counseling sessions about gender identity and sexual preference? Is the town of Gettysburg trying to indoctrinate Civil War enthusiasts and history buffs into the dark underbelly of the LGBTQ movement? Or are these businesses simply trying to show a level of acceptance and respect to a diverse group of visitors to their town? I don't know. Maybe we should all take a field trip to Gettysburg before voting on a flag policy. And I also think about these kids who came here last month and are back here today. They already feel misunderstood and marginalized. Don't they deserve a measure of acceptance and respect? As a school system and a society, do we embrace difference and diversity, or do we just tolerate it? Now let's step back for a minute and think of the bigger picture. How much time and resources have been spent lurching from one divisive issue to the next? Instead of focusing on manufactured controversies, we need to be planning for the next school year. We need to talk with and listen to our educators and find out why they are so burnt out and why morale is so low. We need to support our special educators so they can meet the needs of their students. We need to listen to our building level administrators and our school counselors so we can better support them with the growing behavioral and mental health challenges we are seeing. We need to plan to address our MCAP scores. Now let's take another step back and consider how the reputation of Carroll County schools is tarnished by these endless debates over political policy. I've spoken to so many parents who say they came to Carroll County because of the schools, but are dismayed at the controversy they see every month. All they want is for our schools to focus on educating their students. Parents want their kids to be safe, they want their children to be accepted for who they are, and they want their teachers to be allowed to teach, not be second-guessed or micromanaged. Our students and our educators deserve better. Thank you.
Hi, good afternoon. I'm Steve Whistler, a candidate for the Board of Education and a parent of a child at Oklahoma Road Middle. Our high school senior graduated last week from Liberty High School. I'm here today to testify in favor of the Family Life Advisory Council's recommended changes to the health framework as suggested by the Maryland State Department of Education. One of the most important duties of a local Board of Education is to ensure that our schools focus on preparing kids to be college and career ready. It's so important that we resist injecting political and social agendas in our curriculum and school environment. I've reviewed the items lined out and rephrased by the council, and I really do applaud their efforts to do what many of our state legislators and appointed members to the Maryland State Board of Education would not. Our school system must focus on teaching kids critical thinking, not critical theories related to practices related to race and gender. While these concepts may be appropriate for college, they're incredibly inappropriate for younger kids in our K-12 system. Many of the items they lined out and modified are issues that parents, not schools, should discuss with children. School systems must stop trying to take the place of parents. Parents across this country and throughout this county are speaking out, and I hope educators, administrators, and this Board of Education is listening. I truly do trust our teachers, and I believe that most parents do too. After reviewing the MSDE recommendations, it's very clear to me that we can't trust those in Annapolis to strip away the political and social aspects in our standards. It's so important that we continue to ensure transparency and parent involvement through the Family Life Advisory Council. I reject the notion that parents should stay in their lane and let trained educators create and deliver curriculum. Instead, we should always ensure that parents are involved in every step of the way to help interpret and modify standards that fit the needs of our local community. The research is very clear that students do so much better academically when parents are involved with their education. So I strongly encourage teachers, employer groups, and even some of our elected officials to do everything they can to build partnerships with parents. Any attempt to dissolve the Family Life Advisory Council or any other parent-centric committee would be extremely irresponsible. Our elected Board of Education, not other political figures, employer groups, or activists, are responsible for creating, staffing, and managing these very important parent committees. I realize this is an election year, and political rhetoric and posturing occur every single cycle. But I hope those listening to me understand that my only agenda is to shield our kids from these political and social activists that have taken over our K-12 system, not just around the county, but throughout our country over the past several years. Everything we do in our system must focus on academics, not social and political indoctrination. Thank you.
Thank you.
Jim Miller, and I was Miss Jordan's student that she was referencing. And by the way, Miss Jordan gave me several opportunities as a teacher's aide to try several times to be a good teacher's aide, and she never fired me, so thank you for that. I wasn't the best, I'll tell you. But I wanted to talk about, I think, an underlying issue that we're hearing, and it's pain, and I hear it from a lot of people speaking, and you can hear it in their voice. And I think one of the things that keeps coming up is the continuous bullying of our students, our LGBTQ students, some that aren't LGBTQ. But I know from several parents who have reached out, you know, it's a problem in our schools. And we can address the flag, you know, we can address policies of Family Life Health Committee, but why don't we address the problem of students who just aren't being kind to each other? And the fact that in our schools today, we protect those bullies for some reason. I have a parent who reached out to me. Their child was bullied. Their child was, not to go into too much detail, but essentially videotaped in a bathroom. The student was sent back to the classroom. That student who got bullied had to sit there next to that student for the rest of the day while he was sitting in the classroom with the phone that he had taken in there. Principal couldn't do anything about it. Couldn't do anything about it. When the parent called, finally got the sheriff's department involved, all of a sudden they could do something about it. But you know what they couldn't tell him? What the punishment was. Because they wanted to protect the bully. So why don't we address the issue, which is kids who are bullying other students? Look, I have no problem with a teacher, I'll be honest, that wants to put an LGBTQ flag in their classroom. That's their choice. That's their right. And I will tell you this. I think Ms. Jordan brought up a very good point. You know, why not have an appeal committee? Why not have somebody who's willing to look at it and say, maybe somebody should have a personal choice in this. However, I will counter that, because I always do. If you're going to do that, you have to be willing to accept all of them. Because where will you draw the line? That's the only counter argument I will make. If you're willing to do that, where are you going to draw the line? So we have to think about that, okay? If a teacher's willing to do that, what flag will a teacher not be allowed to bring? And who's going to make that decision? And who's going to draw that line, okay? But my bigger issue is the bullying, and we have to do something about it in Carroll County Public Schools. We have to protect our children. And that's what I'm asking this board to do. You can look at the flag policy. You can look at the family life curriculum, which, by the way, yes, it's made up of a majority of people who some say are from certain Facebook organizations. I want to remind everyone in here that 55% of Carroll County is registered Republicans. The other 45% are not. However, all 5 of our commissioners are Republican. I think somebody said statistically that's probably not possible. But it happened. So please don't look at this committee and try to put them in a box, because I can tell you they've reached out and they're working hard to try to be inclusive. They're working hard to try to do what's best for everybody. Okay, but let's take care of our students who are being bullied and stop protecting bullies.